watch it again. Okay, so let's look at some stats. On average, 120 people apply for a job, according to Forbes. 96% of employers prefer candidates to have work experience. Only 2% of candidates who apply for a job are selected to attend a job interview. 47% of job seekers get invited to 1 or 2 interviews after submitting up to 10 applications. And finally, 7% of job seekers get a job offer after submitting 10 applications. It's daunting, right? And it's gonna get even worse. You will get only 6 to 7 seconds to impress the employer to continue reading your resume. So usually recruiters receive loads of applications and they are not going to spend more than 6 to 7 seconds to go through your resume. It's very brutal. But good news, you can keep them interested for a longer time if you know how to narrate your story. I'm sure many of you experience how frustrating the process of getting a job might get, applying for hundreds and not getting even a follow-up call. I've been there too. But then I started doing some research on how to improve my resume, and I saw a dramatic increase in number of follow-ups and interview invitations. So today I'm going to share with you how to use the same method to increase your chance of getting follow-ups. Okay, so every outstanding resume must have these components. I've seen many applicants with very impressive background, but their resume lack many of those items. First one is name and title, then contact information. It should have also a bio or objective section. You should talk about your education, skills, tools, certificates, and awards. And also, it should have project sections. And finally, experience. Well, in name and title section, it should be easy to locate. So you should use large and bold font. You should use the right title. For example, if you are coming from accounting to tech and you are an aspiring data scientist, you shouldn't use titles like aspiring data scientist. You shouldn't use titles like aspiring data scientist. You shouldn't use titles like accountant. Your title should be right and for the job that you are applying for. Can I ask you all to mute your mics, please? Okay, so next one is contact information. It should contain your phone number, email address. It is expected that that you have a LinkedIn account. As a professional, you should have a LinkedIn account. So it is another common mistake. I've seen many applicants not having a LinkedIn account. So LinkedIn is a social platform for professionals. If you are looking for a job, it is a must. Also, if you want to work as a data scientist, software engineer, or any kind of job that needs programming, it is very nice to have a GitHub repository and then put the link of that GitHub account on your resume. And also, you should have a portfolio where you showcase the project that you have done before to the recruiter and employer. Okay, bio or objective. This is by far the most important section of your resume. You get 6 or 7 seconds to impress the employer to continue reading your resume. This is the part that they start reading, and you can impress them by by crafting the right story about yourself. Okay, so how to do that? I created structure so you can follow this. and I'm sure it's going to be convincing, and you can craft an impressive story about yourself if you follow this structure. So it shouldn't be more than one paragraph. Don't forget that it should take like 5 to 6 seconds only for a recruiter to go through that. It shouldn't be more than 4 sentences, 40 to 50 words. Okay, so here, let's imagine that we have like 3 sentences. So in your first sentence, you should mention, what do you do? It is a very simple question, but I've seen even many professionals, seniors, can't articulate what they do actually. So as a data scientist, your job is not to work with fancy models. Your job is to solve business problems. As a product manager, your job is to solve business problems. As a UX designer, your job is to solve problems. So everyone working in a company try to solve the problems. So you should state that, you should know that you should be a problem solver in your company. So what is the difference between a UX designer, product manager, and data scientist? The way that they solve problems. So by answering the second question, you identify how you solve the problems. As a data analyst, as a data scientist, you solve problems through data-driven approaches, right? So you use machine learning tools and you design experiments, you analyze data. All these kind of things are data-driven approaches. And finally, this is really important for hiring managers to see that you understand the impact of your job on the business. So it shows them that you understand the job that you are doing has some impact. For example, as a data scientist, you help the board or you help the managers, stakeholders to make informed decisions for the company. Okay, and then this led into exceptional business growth for a company. So this is the impact of your job on the company. Try to think about these questions. Try to understand exactly what do you do, how do you do that, and what is the impact of your job on the business. And okay, so by far this is the most important sentence in your bio section. So in next sentence, you should state what is your title. Okay, I'm a data scientist. I'm a senior data scientist. What is your level of maturity? I'm a data scientist with 4 years of experience. And what is your specialization? And do you have an expertise in a field or sector? For example, I am a data scientist with 4 years of experience in iGaming with a focus on marketing. So you see, you can easily craft the second sentence. Can I ask you to mute your mics, please? The final section, okay, in final section, you should answer, what are your relevant skills? So again, as a data scientist, it is expected to have some programming and math skills and also problem solving. So try to keep it short and to the point. Education. So it's a common mistake that some applicants include their high school diploma when they have higher education. So don't do that. Don't include higher school diploma if you have higher education. Don't include education older than 10 years because then your experience is enough for the employer to go through that. If you graduated 10 years ago as a data scientist, as a product manager, then there's no need to include your education in your resume. Can I ask you to mute your mic, please? Okay. Also include relevant training if you don't have formal education. For example, you are moving into tech to work as a data analyst, and you don't have any formal education about that, but you've been through some training in your previous company. Include those relevant trainings. You went to a boot camp, include those trainings. You got a certificate from AWS or Google, include those trainings in your resume if you don't have formal education. Include your irrelevant BS or MSc, etc. if you don't have relevant work experience and education. Why? Because it showcases the employer that you have relevant skills to do research and write a report. And finally, these are needed information on education section. You should mention the education start and end date, level of education, name of institution, the country where you studied, program and course title, program and course modules, and finally GPA and module marks if you finish your program. Skills. In the skills section, you need to highlight the technical skills. List the skills based on the level of proficiency. For example, as a data scientist, you might be better in working with machine learning. Okay, so put the machine learning first and then go through visualizations and doing data analysis. And finally, leave soft skills for project section. We are going to go there. So I'm going to explain how to show your soft skills when describing the projects that you have done before. In a tech resume, it is expected that you mention the tools that you are comfortable working with. So highlight the tools, software, and programming languages in your resume. You don't need to master all those tools, but don't include if you can't answer basic questions in an interview. For example, if you are saying that I'm comfortable working with R or Python or SQL, there might be some questions in interview about them, and you should be able to answer those questions. Again, order them based on your level of proficiency. If you are more comfortable working with SQL, then you should put it first. Also, it is good to have a subsection for a list of libraries. For example, if you know how to work with Python, then and you are a data scientist, then it is expected to be familiar with libraries like NumPy, Pandas, scikit-learn, and matplotlib. You should have a section for certificates and awards. So try to include relevant certificates and awards. Try to order them if they are if they are from well-recognized institutions and organizations, put them first. For example, you got a certification from AWS on data analysis. Okay, let's put it first. Okay, so this is the second part, which is really important in your resume if you want to apply for a tech job. So in this section, employers learn about your experience, soft and technical skills. I recommend you might have thousands of projects in your portfolio, but don't include more than 3 projects in your resume. Don't forget that you don't get much time and they don't want to put too much time reading your resume. So just try to limit the number of projects to 3 projects. Okay, so there are 2 ways to choose the projects. First one is customizing your project according to job requirements, or let's call it dynamic project selection. The process, it match better with job advertisement, but then the cons, it's time consuming. It requires several projects in your portfolio. to match with each job, and it requires recalling all those project steps because the probability of being asked about those projects in your interview is high. The other approach, which I prefer, is static project selection. So it covers 80 to 90% of the job requirements in the market. It is time efficient. It requires recalling few projects and then going through that in detail in your interview. But the cons is it might not match perfectly with each job ads. I never had time to customize my project, my resume according to each job advertisement. So I chose static project selection. But how you can choose only 3 projects and make sure that it can match in the best way possible. How to select those projects? Well, first of all, you need to learn what are your desired job key skills. You need to read 5 to 10 job advertisements at least, and you can also ask mentors what are the key requirements and skills in your job market at the moment. For example, as a data scientist, you can cover up to 90% of the job requirements if you have experience working with cloud services such as AWS, Azure, and GCP. And also performing data analysis, design experiments, and use machine learning, and also performing data engineering tasks such as ETL, pipeline creation, model deployment.
You've made a great success of its approach to Brexit.
Could you please mute your mics, guys? Thank you. Okay, so I understand that many of you might not have experience working for employers before because you just moved into tech. So how you can create those projects? You can, for example, if you want to show that you have experience working in cloud infrastructure and using cloud, you have used cloud services such as AWS, you can open a free AWS account. You can YouTube some of those instructions on how to create a simple application on cloud. And then you can follow those steps. And finally, you are going to have a project working with AWS. You can put that, you can start writing a blog about that. You can write a documentation about what you've done and then put that in your portfolio and also use it in your resume. If you have not done data analysis, you haven't designed experiments or used machine learning models in your previous job, then maybe it's good to apply for a hackathon in Kaggle. I'm sure that many of you are familiar with Kaggle hackathons, and then start cleaning the data. So it provides you with mock data. It is usually clean, so you can start analyzing data, creating plots and charts, doing machine learning to make a prediction, and then document all of that, put that in portfolio and in your resume. And also for performing data engineering tasks, you can easily learn how to create an API, do ETL, do pipeline creation and model deployment on YouTube. So please go and create these projects because employers and hiring managers expect you to have these kind of projects in your resume. I've seen many newbies complaining that, okay, I don't have any experience, and all job advertisements are asking to have at least 2 years of experience. Okay, if you don't have it, just try to create it. In tech, they don't care about usually the number of years that you have had experience. They care about you being engaged with the projects, having a good understanding of different projects, and being able to do the job. So in this way, you can just create 3 projects that can cover up to 90% of the requirements in your job market. Okay, so what about the structure of those projects? Doing the project is one story, and then summarizing that and articulating that is another story. So this is the structure that you can follow to create your projects, to articulate your projects. It shouldn't be more than 1 paragraph, and it shouldn't be more than 4 sentences. In the first sentence, you should say, what is the project about? For example, it was a project to predict the customer churn in company A. Okay. So then you need to describe what was your role. Did you lead a team? Were you collaborating with other teammates, or it was a project by your own? So in this sentence, by answering this question, actually you are talking about your soft skills. Are you a leader? Are you a good team player? Are you able to work by your own? And then you need to mention, how did you contribute to that project? For example, I was collaborating in a team, and I was working on optimizing the machine learning. I was optimizing the algorithm for predicting churn. Okay, so you highlight how did you contribute to that project. And finally, you should mention which tools did you use. For example, it was big data, so I used PySpark. And the last sentence is really important. So you should know the outcome of the project. You should mention that. For example, I worked on optimizing I was working on optimizing a churn model, which led to 8% increase in retention rate of the players. Okay, or that helped the marketing team to save 10% in their budget. So you should state the outcome of the project. If it is a mock project, for example, you have done some jobs on Kaggle Hackathon, then mention the potential outcome of that project. Okay, it shouldn't be real even, but it should showcase the employer that you understand what is going to be the outcome.
We have to create those institutions. We have to.
Okay, so guys, if this session ends, because it's a free session on Zoom, so it is limited to 40 minutes, then I'm gonna put a link for another Zoom meeting immediately after that, so please feel free to join the other one.
Hi, Eunice. Just wanted to ask you, where are you going to put the link? Is it going to be in the chat box here? Because are we going to have an access to this after the meeting ends?
I will put it right now, so please save it somewhere in case.
All right.
Okay. That's it. Perfect. Okay, so next session is about experience. In this section, you should showcase your experience. The employers learn how your past experience aligns with the job requirements. And if you are new to the field and don't have relevant experience, just try to relate your past experience to the current role. For example, I came to tech as an engineer. Okay, it was completely irrelevant, but the points that I could relate into data science field was that to become an engineer, you should be a good problem solver. The same skill was required in data science as well. So as an engineer, I learned how to divide and conquer a problem, how to break it down into small parts and then try to solve those small issues and problems. So you should try to find the relevant skills in your past role and then link it into your current and desired job, into your new and desired job. Okay, so you should try to state your responsibilities as clear and concise as possible. Don't use fancy words, don't use complex sentences, because most of the time hiring managers and recruiters might not be really, for example, if you are working in a pharmaceutical company, don't use fancy words about medicines and different approaches that you were using, because the recruiter probably doesn't have any background in pharmaceutical. And also don't include more than 5 responsibilities. If you cannot summarize your responsibilities in 5 bullet points, then you are not really familiar with what you've done before, because I've never seen anyone having more than 5 main responsibilities in their previous job. And the needed information is start and end dates of your job, company name, location, and responsibilities and daily tasks. Okay, so this is about the sections that you need to include in your resume. It's a bonus step. So your resume should be ATS friendly. But what is ATS? ATS is the application tracking system. It's a software or application that parse your resume and try to match your resume with the job ads. This is the first filter that your resume should pass. So it is really important to use a parsable format like Word document. For example, don't use Figma to create your resume, because then it is not parsable and you are going to get rejected by the job immediately, even before the recruiter have a chance to go through your resume. Also, it is really important to include relevant words, relevant keywords, sorry. You can add a cheat words after each project. So after explaining your project, you can use one line to include relevant words. For example, if you have worked on a specific kind of analysis, if you have done some t-test, then use t-test. If you have worked with big data, then include like a word like big data. If you have created a recommendation system, then add the keyword recommendation system, recommendation engine, and these kind of things. So it will help your resume to get more recognition and match better with the job advertisement. Okay, finally, it's about layout. Some people believe having a resume more than 1 page is better, but believe me, I've been there. 1-page resume is the best that you can have, because you don't get much time. Recruiters don't put too much time to go through your resume, so it's better to have it all in 1 page. Your resume should be visually appealing. Don't forget that you are interacting with humans, so try to use the good color palette, try to pay attention to spacing and margins, and be creative while creating your resume. Here you can see how you can put all that information into 1 page. So I found this layout very helpful, actually. If you divide your page into 2 sections, and then consider that we start writing from left to right and up to bottom, then this layout makes sense to you. So you start with the most important part, and then finally reach to experience and certificates and awards sections. And that's it. I wanted to thank you for listening to me and joining this workshop. You can connect me on LinkedIn. I put the link over there. You can get free mentorship if you wish. I'll be happy to help you. And also, you can learn more in my website where I publish blogs time to time about data science, tech, and all relevant topics.
Thank you very
Hello,
much.
hello, Sandy.
worries.
Thank you very much. Can you send your LinkedIn, maybe your URL, your profile LinkedIn to the chat box so we can connect with you immediately, Sandy? Thank you very much again.
Sure.
So Peter, it was shared at the start of the chat. So if you scroll up, you will see his LinkedIn over there.
Apologies, sorry. So let me scroll up now. Thank you very
No
much.
I
worries.
send it again. Okay, so let's go through the questions. Is there any question at all?
A
Okay.
few people asked a few questions in the chat.
Yeah. Okay, is LinkedIn certifications relevant here? Yes, you can include any kind of certification from LinkedIn, AWS, Coursera, or anywhere else, but don't be like people that just get the certificates. These days, it's really easy to get a certificate. Try to learn by doing. Okay, and if you, for example, get a certificate, go and do a project about it. If you learn, for example, the certificate is about how to create a recommendation engine, then go download a mock-up data, create your own recommendation system, try to write a blog about it, try to document it, put it on GitHub, and then mention it in your resume. Can we have free AWS account even after graduation? You can create AWS account with your own email. So yeah, it is possible to create a free AWS account.